Good now, revolutionaries, and welcome to the Rise Up Morning Show. Today is Monday, August 5th. This is your place for helpful news, commentary, answers to your crypto questions. Wherever you are, whenever you listen, it's time to rise up. My name is Evan Mann. I am joined today by my good friend, co-host, and co-owner of Rise Up Media, Mr. Will Watson, and intern extraordinaire and research analyst at Rise Up, Mr. Matthew Wiley. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us, and thanks to all of you for tuning in. If you got something to share, leave it in the comments, and if you're listening in the future, hello. We hope your candles are green. We would love to hear from you where the show lives 24/7. I'm talking about community.rumshq.com, where the only thing missing is you. How the heck are you guys doing today?
I am doing well now that I am incredibly caffeinated after making a video about coffee, but I'm caffeinated by our friends at Raposa Coffee. Legally not sponsored, but they're really good friends of ours, and we help each other out. So, good. It's good coffee in a can. Also, Evan, soundboard effects sound a little funky wonky right now. I don't know if it's just me.
I don't know if it's. Yeah, I hear that too. Maybe it sounds normal, but
just FYI, maybe it sounds normal to people watching, but they're a little wonky right now. If there's anything you can do about it, but if not, that's fine. So,
here's what I can do about it. I can say. And then I can work on it.
Okay.
So, you know.
All right, but yes. So I didn't get a Bitcoin update video this morning. My volume's very low. Let me increase it a little bit. How's that?
Pump it up. There
How's
you
that
go.
A little better.
Look at
all right,
this.
Perfect.
The show where you get to give editing
things
information on the fly. Yeah.
Fake radio show, by the way.
So fake radio show, everyone. We're just scraping by. So what I did is I didn't get a Bitcoin update video out this morning. I apologize because. Last night, if anyone doesn't know, I have a food channel that's based specifically on like Boston local economics and like shopping locally versus private equity, and then breaking down the math of investments and things in the area. And so, obviously, Boston, Massachusetts, what business do you think of first? Probably Dunkin' Donuts is what you think of nationally, right? So I said, how much of your money stays within the local economy of Massachusetts, or really just any local economy, when you shop at Dunkin' versus Starbucks versus a local independent? I won't bore you with the math, go see the video, but the end result is when you shop at Massachusetts, $2.47 roughly of every $5 you spend stays within your local economy. At Starbucks, roughly $2.38 stays within your local economy. Again, only spending $5. And then if you were to shop at a local mom and pop store, roughly $3.95 stays within your local economy.
Wow.
You can go watch the video, the full breakdown, but I made it last night and then I realized my math was wrong this morning. And so I had to refilm the whole thing again and make sure the math was right. So, but I had a lot of fun doing it because it's cool. It's cool when you break that down and you understand like where your money flows as you're spending it in your day to day. Because oftentimes we don't think about that stuff. And it's really interesting to see.
Aleta says, super interesting, Will. And I would agree. That's Will Eats Boston.
Yes,
on TikTok and Instagram?
TikTok and Instagram.
Are you eating Boston, Will? 789. That's mean.
I don't know why, but that really tickled me.
Get out.
I'm here all day, folks. Don't worry.
Yeah, right. Matthew, how are you, man? How's your morning going?
Doing great. Got my trusty water bottle on the side. I don't know. I have not gotten into coffee yet. Not at the age yet, but maybe once I get my hands on some Raposa, that'll change.
Honestly,
Bro, how old are you?
How old are you? I didn't become a coffee drinker though until I was like 25, 26.
Exactly.
Really.
I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
Just turned 22, so got that. We got a few years left.
From
You
backstage.
don't need the caffeine yet.
Yeah, you got that natural energy. The energy of a young man. I remember those days. Alex from backstage said, tell Matthew he's fired.
We had a good run.
Yeah. Tori says she was like 15. So you got time, man. You're a late bloomer when it comes to the coffee game, and your adrenal gland will probably thank you. Matthew is here to review some homework, which means that Will and I are going to get to kick back, relax later on. But of course, we want to answer your crypto questions. And really, truly, the thing I'm excited to get into today, first, before we do that, is we have the opportunity to break the news on an awesome new protocol. We have teased this, and you guys know what I'm talking about, but everybody tuning in does not know what I'm talking about yet. So I'm just going to go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off and tell you, with a special welcome to everybody coming from our friend, the White Whale's Twitter profile. The White Whale Labs has trusted us to tell you for the very first time on any platform anywhere that their first product, live now today, is called, are you ready for this? Sat Rush. Evan, I love it. I love the name, you say, but what does it mean? What is Sat Rush? I'm glad you asked. This is an idea I heard the White Whale share about the first time just a few months ago, but it's something that they have been thinking about for some time. You know that they have wanted to build meaningful solutions for people who play on chain to get what they deserve in terms of true decentralization, true randomness. They want the blockchain to be everything it can be, and SatRush is the first product from the White Whale Labs to bring that to you. It is similar to the products we have showcased on this show that allow you to turn your tokens into a chance to win more. We had the OR folks on the show a few weeks ago, and this is in fact, in part, an homage to OR. But instead of mining a native token, SatRush invites you to mine actual Bitcoin rewards. And the way it works is you pick a space, stake your claim with USDC, and then one of the spaces featured on this play space will be chosen at random, and every minute it's revealed to players. The player who wins by picking the correct space, or all the players who win, get to share a stake of that reward. So if there's $100 put up and 100 people play, but only one of them picks the right space, then that person is going to win the lion's share, $100 minus the platform fees in USDC. And here's the kicker, Bitcoin. They have also got the stack, which is where your actual sats sit and compound while you keep them there. Everybody is free to exit the mine at any time, but the people who exit and pay the fee distribute that fee to the people who stay. So you can earn Bitcoin, you can compound rewards in Bitcoin, and a portion of the fees every round go to fund this Epoch Vault. The target is 1 Bitcoin every 72 hours. That's pretty aggressive. Obviously, as more people play, that could change. Less people play, that could change. But somebody who earns points every round can spend those points on a chance to win that vault. And there's a bonus strike issued at random to somebody who picks the right square. So there are lots of different ways to win. There are lots of ways to stack stats. It's like a gamified DCA is what I told the White Whale when I first heard about this.
Yeah.
And the math of it, the people who leave paying the people who stay, actually means it's a pretty significant way for people who participate to just compound and hypothetically earn interest on Bitcoin. This is a world premiere. We are going to host the White Whale and Quicks, formerly from SolFlare, now at the White Whale Labs later tonight, so that they can walk us through all the features and functionality of this platform. But I just want to say thank you so much to the White Whale for trusting us to break this news and for hosting his first ever in-person interview. I think this is going to be like a made-for-TV, must-see event. Obviously, we'll talk about SatRush, but
I'm so hoping he pulls a me and he bought the shittiest Amazon quality whale costume possible that looks like a colored fruit of some type. Like my dolphin costume.
Yeah,
that
are you
looks
gonna wear
like a
yours,
blue
Will?
banana. I want.
You gonna wear yours?
Oh my God, you're so right. I totally
You should wear it.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, I totally will. It's been so long. It's been so long. He would love the seriousness of that. Also, Evan, can you go back to what you showed previously? Because I do have a question.
Yes, you want to see the very beginning intro screen with the tutorial slides, or you want to see the homepage?
No, I
Here's
want to
the
see this
homepage.
because what I have a question on is I want to understand that Epoch Vault again, because I didn't quite grasp it, and maybe my brain turned on and off while you were explaining it. And if I have that question, I would imagine other people do as well. So can you explain that one more time?
Yes, and this will be a good question for us to do a little testing with. Fact check yourself, brother, when we speak to the team tonight. But my understanding is that every round, the fees collected, because there is a small fee for the round, go to partially fund this vault. And that when the timer expires, we're targeting 72 hours, this will pay out a reward to one person who has been putting up points. I forgot to explain this better.
Who's been active.
Yeah. Somebody who's active. Everybody who's active, every round you play, you get these points. I believe they're called hash rate points. There's a lot of mining analogies here. You know, gold rush, Bitcoin mining, they call the spaces blocks, and they call the little points you get for participating each round hash rate points. You can spend those hash rate points like you might spend points on a raffle to win a chance at the larger vault claim, the Epoch Vault.
I gotcha. Okay. Yeah, so that to me is like the gamified mining, because you know if you're a miner, you're putting costs into getting the equipment, you know, the overhead, the utilities you're paying as well, but you're not guaranteed to win, right? You're not guaranteed to be the first person to, you know, get the mathematical equation right, or you know, guess the very large number. And so this is kind of like that same instance where it's like you're never really guaranteed to get it, just like with mine, but you can win the mining reward here and win this gamified mining scenario. So I understand the comparison now.
That's exactly right. And there are 3 different sort of bonus rewards. So every round has a predetermined on-chain random number. It's not like the white whale and his buddies are, you know, picking. And somebody wins based on if they allocated correctly. Now you can guess every square and win a share of the reward and accumulate points and participate in winning all these different payouts too. One person, let me see how often this one is accumulated. I think I need to double check. There is the strike, which is, Sat Strike, which is paid out. It was most recently paid out 21 hours ago. This is like the smallest bonus, and it is given, I believe, Sat Strike pays out when a round strikes, not on a timer, so it has no draw to enter. So like every round has a random number, and then the Sat Strike pot is like another randomizer. Sometimes, some round, the Sat Strike bonus will trigger, and whoever picks the square that it lands on, no spending of Sat Rush hash rate points required, they get this reward. Then there's the Epoch Vault reward, which is meant to be a little bigger, paid out a little less frequently, and that's the entry that you earn by entering in the Epoch draw with your hash rate points. And then there is I was wrong in this. There is also a 1 Bitcoin vault. Over time, rewards are accumulated, and when they hit 1 Bitcoin, somebody who has entered the draw will win that Bitcoin. So far, there's been 1,353 entries. So this is like the Powerball, which is, you know, crazy. Already, they've got revenue accumulating, fees being paid out. This thing has just been live in beta for about 48 hours. So they've already had real users, real economic activity. You can connect your wallet and play for yourself at satrush.io. It's a pretty simple interface with good tutorials that I expect will become better over time, good about docs. We can certainly check those out, look into them if folks want to see it. But I would be glad to defer to you guys for questions and, of course, the comments, where I see somebody said, what is the website? satrush.io. And Solom said, I am canceling work today and sending everyone home.
And this is built on the Solana blockchain. So you'll be connecting a Solana wallet. The Bitcoin is, correct me if I'm wrong, it would be the cbBTC wrapped on the Solana network.
Exactly. And this is a trend I have seen the start of that I expect to continue. people are going to Solana, and cbBTC is the asset they want, and there is increasing utility for it more and more over time. cbBTC, I think it first migrated to Solana. It first got wrapped there sometime last year. Somebody fact check me on that. But since that time, it has grown in volume, in market cap on that network. People love to use cbBTC on Solana increasingly over Base. And I just suspect it's because there's more to do with it there, and it's like more performant in that regard.
Yeah,
I think it's a good move.
It's an interesting, it's a question I've been meaning to try to do some research on and get a really good answer on, which is like, why are so many more people going and choosing Solana as compared to like something like a Base that has that Coinbase on-ramp, right? But to kind of give people a quick example, I made an analyst report on this. I shared it for free for members of the Rise Up community. And you can see here, when you look at TVL versus like money that's actually using, because an issue with TVL, which stands for total value locked, it's a measurement of money on a blockchain, right? Is a lot of that kind of dead money. It's been sitting there for a long time. Like Ethereum here is the clear number one at $41.4 billion in TVL of money on chain. Then in second place is the Binance Smart Chain at 4.9 billion. Third place is Tron at 4.8 billion. And fourth place is Solana at 4.83 billion, just ever so slightly below Tron. But when you look at the amount of volume that's going through over the past month around decentralized exchanges, Solana's at 54.5 billion, more than Ethereum at 39.5 billion. Granted, you have the layer twos that all stack onto that, like Base and Arbitrum. So it is actually, Ethereum technically is still in the lead, but if you combine all the layer twos, but barely so. And so Solana in and of itself does lead as the single, layer one blockchain, or, layer two, I'll just kind of include in that example, but it leads as the single one with the most active amount of money in one single place. So Solana is number one there, or, you can definitely say number two, but barely so when you combine Ethereum with the layer two. So like people use Solana. The amount of money that is on Solana versus Ethereum that is used is far, 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 far larger.
Well, and show me that next metric that you got there, if you don't mind going back to it real quick. Cross-chain revenue, because that's a number that Andrew was talking about yesterday when I asked him. I said, how do you tell the difference when you're talking to new folks or experienced folks about like what is meaningful economic activity? He didn't even wait for me to finish. He just said revenue. One word, revenue. That's the number I look at. And Solana routinely generates more revenue, not only than any other blockchain, but some weeks or some months, some periods of measure, it generates more than every other major blockchain combined, or apps there do.
Yeah,
That's
and
huge,
this was just last week. So I mean, it's pretty crazy. And like
this is
3 times Binance Smart Chain also is pretty nuts.
This is a report you generated?
Yes, this is a report I generated.
Yeah.
I provided it for free to any of our members who can also join for free at the Rise Up community. But it will be something that I will do for all major cryptos, and I'll make it available for premium members once we provide additional services, and our pricing for premium does go up at the end of summertime. Just FYI, but you can get grandfathered in now. And I'm going to do it for all the major cryptos, and then I'll start asking our premium community members what coins they want next, whether it's super small coin or another really big coin. And I'll plan on updating these quarterly as well to refresh it so people can always go and see what are the latest kind of stats and information you need to know about Solana. And there's way more in there, but I don't want to create too large of a tangent as of right now.
No, it's excellent. Now, we do have some questions coming in about SatRush I'd like to get to, including whether or not we are affiliated or receiving any kind of kickback from the platform. But first, I would like to say, especially to everybody who's coming here from the White Whale, hello. We hope your candles are green. If you're tuning in to Rise Up for the first time, we have a ton of educational resources to help you save time and money learning crypto. And it starts with the show right here. We're live 4 days a week for the Rise Up morning show, Monday through Thursday, or wherever you are, whenever you listen on podcast platforms and all major socials. But we've got 3 other excellent live shows, expanding to more soon. And my friends, if you head to the link in bio, wherever you are, whenever you listen, you will be directed to RUMS HQ, RUMSHQ.com. This is the Rise Up Morning Show headquarters. Not only can you find all the links to all our official socials, you can find the link to join the free Rise Up community, and the link to try our premium program. This is what Will was talking about. We do everything we can to help everyone anywhere learn crypto. But there are some things we just don't have the capacity to scale, and a culture that we want to protect. These are the most dedicated members of our learning community. They're excellent people from all over the world, all ages and levels of experience. We make time every week to sit down with them. I do it, Alex does it, Will does it in office hours. If you've got a question that doesn't fit in a comment, that you don't feel comfortable asking in a community, and you want feedback from folks who've been here doing this at a professional level, investing, working in the crypto industry, advising others, helping them build products, etc., then you can ask us. This is a 10-day free trial, and then it's just $30 a month for about 1 month longer, and then it's going to go up to $100 a month, because frankly, you know, Will's cranking out the value. Alex has a whole plan for integrating some more of the stuff in the new website with tools you can try to simulate wallets. Doug has some ideas for cool trading indicators and tools, and we want that culture to be preserved. The most valuable members of our community, the very best part of what we do, are the premium learners who choose to learn with us and trust us to help. So we would love to see you there, and it all starts in the free community and at rumshq.com. The first question I see is, do you guys get any KOL deals? Are you investors in SatRush, the platform? To which I would say, you know, if they're giving out equity for free, it could be the move. No, we are not. I have been a mentor for the White Whale since more or less they got serious about working in the crypto space. And we would all consider the White Whale a friend. And they have previously sponsored our platform as the White Whale. And now I am pleased to announce that they're re-engaging again. We're going to help as marketing partners to spread the word, create educational content about SatRush, and relay your feedback to the team. But at this time, there is no token except Bitcoin, and our compensation will be clear and transparent. We don't get any sort of extra inside advantage. Referral links are not live yet. I know a lot of our friends in the community, I saw Jower was asking about that. They are not live at this time, but that is a V2 thing. The White Whale has said they hope to build the capacity for, so that we and you can refer friends and earn some sort of percentage. It'll be a good way to support the show. But for now, the best thing you can do to support the show is to let us know if you have feedback, if you have questions about it, and then we will ask the White Whale starting tonight on Rise Up After Dark. But, you know, it's an open door policy. I may or may not have a pigeon who is trained to fly to the ocean and connect to a seagull who knows the precise location beneath the depths that the White Whale is swimming at any given time. Odds are good.
Well, I would like to use that seagull to tell the White Whale that we should all get together and introduce ourselves to our own nerdy things. I would love if we could all get together at some point and be like, all right, we're about to play tabletop Warhammer 40K. Now we're about to do a magic game for Alex. Evan, we'll do improv. We'll do improv, and then the White Whale will make us watch all of the old Star Treks.
Oh my gosh! Owl surfacing coming up from the nighttime says wrong bird.
Wrong bird.
Owl is another team member over at the White Whale Labs. There are several. They've expanded quickly, and I guess maybe that's like a requisite because, you know, Quicks is a fox.
Yeah, the fox. Yeah.
Owl is a bird of the night, and Will, I'm just saying, might be your new part-time gig, man. You need a dolphin.
You need a dolphin. I'm in. Although technically, I guess I'm in. I'm roped in already. you have a dolphin.
Dan says, I want to be the White Whale's butler just to glean alpha. Oh my gosh. Could you imagine? Moby Dick himself. Now,
hey, if he wants a Warhammer 40K army, I'll paint it. I'll only charge 17 million yen.
In the comments,
I don't know what dollars that is.
On Truth a Storm says, call me Ishmael. I like it. If you've got more questions about SatRush, let us know. It is satrush.io, and we will be live with the White Whale and Quicks tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. From 8 to 10, it'll be Rise Up After Dark, and we're going to talk SatRush, but I also know that, like Dan, you're probably trying to glean alpha. You have lots of questions for the whale, like, Why does he choose to trade where he does? Why does he like the assets he does? What's the strategy? How does he get the barnacles off? Whatever you want to know.
That's a
Thank you. Thank you. We're gonna ask.
That got me. That was good.
Now, Will, you've got a couple minutes before you ride your dog and pony into the sunset, so I'm glad to defer to you. But I do want to remind you that pretty much our job is done for the day. Matthew's here. This is an educational experience, and we've assigned him some homework previously. I'm glad to just drink coffee with you and let him anchor the next segments of the show to tell us what he's been learning. If there's nothing else more pressing that you'd like to share first.
The only thing that I would like to share first is I started feeling a little bullish on the markets like a few days ago. I was like, or like a week ago. I was like, oh, there's like some things here.
It's gotten into you.
And then I know. And then over the past few days, especially when I was in office hours with our premium members of our community, I'm just looking at the charts. I'm like, oh, Ethereum and Solana are both at like really, really good dollar cost average points. And I was like, I could see a rebound here even. And then I was looking at Bitcoin. I'm like, I'm seeing some things starting to line up. And then I walked out of office hours and I was like, I'm kind of becoming pretty optimistic. I think you could still totally maybe have a move in Bitcoin up to like 68,000 and then maybe back down to 60K, right? I'm expecting still general chop, but I'm looking at the market and I have been famously calling for like 45 to 51K, and then maybe 55K ends up being support. And that's been the general range. I'm like, I feel like that could be the true bottom. But as I'm seeing the market kind of shape up here, and I'll make a video on it and all that, I'm like, we got some bullish setups here. And actually, I'll share my screen really quickly. So, Bitcoin here, if I just zoom out, here's the first thing. This green triangle, this is a descending wedge. Descending wedges tend to break out to the upside. And this is the macro pattern that Bitcoin's in. So that was the first thing I started looking at like a couple weeks ago, where I was like, okay, like this is usually a bullish setup here. That's something. Add that to the database. And then if we really zoom out here and go to the weekly time frame, this, I know my chart's a little bit of a mess, but this white line here, I had it drawn incorrectly before. And so I draw this new line of support that started in November of 2022, and we're right on this support line here. And if I pull to the monthly time frame as well, it's even more obvious that we dipped just below it and we're actually above it right now. And our stochastic RSI is very oversold on the monthly chart. If we can hold this line and get above the 55-month exponential moving average, which we closed below last month, that's a great sign.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
I'm telling you there's a chance. That's a great sign. If this month can end above basically $64,000, I'd say stamp on it, bottoms in for sure. Like that's what I'd be looking at. And we have this lower low that's barely a lower low, also a potential bullish sign. I'm like, goddamn. Like we're seeing some real bottom signals start to show up on the chart here on like meaningful macro timeframes. And then I do something like I come over here and I take a look at Ethereum on the monthly chart. And look at this line of support going back all the way to November of 2020. That has been a point where Ethereum has bounced, and the monthly chart stochastic RSI is super oversold. Great time to dollar cost average. And it's similar for Solana as well. And I'm looking at some of these altcoins, the big ones, Ethereum and Sol. I'm like, they look like they're at a potential bottom. They really do. And I'm looking at Bitcoin and I'm seeing all those lines of support from like years of data while we're oversold in the monthly chart stochastic RSI. And I'm like, goddamn, like we might have well and truly hit a bottom. We'll have to see how Bitcoin reacts once there's another correction. We still need to see a higher low really form. But like, I'll stop sharing here, Evan. But like, I'm feeling a little giddy. Like, now is the time to be paying attention. Now is the time to be building a crypto strategy. Now is the time to be figuring out what couple of altcoins you're looking to buy and start dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin for sure. And it feels exciting. I feel pretty amped up about it because I haven't been able to look at the chart and felt bullish in a long time, and it feels really good.
It's the perfect time to buy.
It's the perfect time to buy. I did see a tweet that made me sad yesterday, though. It was like, if you invested $10,000 into Bitcoin 5 years ago, you'd have $10,000 today. I was like, gwump. That was at the top, and this is the bottom, so not the same. Hopefully.
Yeah, not the same.
Not the same.
$10,000 at the top versus $10,000 at the bottom. Isn't it crazy that we're looking at, the high 50s, $60,000 Bitcoin and saying, can't wait to buy. I'm thrilled to buy. I'm thrilled to buy at these prices. I wish it was lower. Of course.
I took a look. Radio Dan, I missed you in premium, buddy. We took a look at all the major meme coins as well. Oh. And as of right now, the only meme coin that's starting to show some strength, which is also an interesting sign, is SHIB. SHIB is showing strength, but PENGU, FLOKI, DOGE, BONK, all of the rest of the big ones, dead as a doornail right now. They still need to see Bitcoin do some things before money will rotate again into the meme coin mania, of which personally I'm expecting to happen once again.
Someone asked, are you sure this is the bottom?
No.
And no one is.
No.
Yeah.
If someone says they're sure, then they're not.
You need to run from those people. They are not your teachers. Say more.
I am sure that I am unsure. Always.
That sounds like a fortune cookie.
Nah, it does sound like a fortune cookie.
If someone tells you that they know the bottom or they know the top, it means they have some sort of product to sell you and you need to run, is what that means.
Having said that, I do have a course that I can sell you.
He does. And it will make you better because it will teach you to ask questions and observe things that will help you build your own conviction. It is not a magic 8-ball like mine here, which says Lambo soon. But you should not be outsourcing your conviction to fortune tellers. Those people, they give you a sense of peacefulness. Listen, man, if Will and Matthew and Alex and I wanted to stand up on this stage and make you feel good, make you believe, boy, we could do it. When I brush my teeth, my smile looks so white, even next to Will Watson. And have you seen this guy? He's one of the only people I know who's more handsome in person. And that's saying something. He's a great salesman. But that is not the point of this show. That is not the point of our content. Some people who are chasing gold, they're going to fall into a hole somewhere and die in a mine. And then there are people who are walking over gold in the streets, a pearl of great price that is buried in the mud. That is what you have stumbled upon here. And the challenge is not, can I pick up the gold? The challenge is, do you have eyes to see it? Do you have ears to hear it? There are lots of opportunities where the future takes us lower. Economically, we're in a tough time. Geopolitically, we're in a crazy time. Michael Saylor could touch that sell button to drive prices lower, to get himself a better bargain at any time. You need to be positioned for the three things the market can do. I can hear Alex saying it in the back of my head. It's going to go up, it's going to go down, it's going to go sideways. If you have a plan for all three, you're wealthier than pretty much anybody asking, what should I buy, will ever be.
Ooh, wait. Can I show two other charts real quick? And then Matt, I'm totally ready for your segment.
So let's do it.
So let me show you Solana as well, because it's really exciting as well. It's kind of like Ethereum, but I feel like even more so. So this is Solana on the monthly chart. And again, this line of support, again, another macro multi-year line of support going back to December of 2022. We landed on this back in June. And we printed a hammer candle back then. Now, price hasn't really gone up or down really from where the month of June's candle closed, but we have a hammer candle printing on that multi-year line of support, as well as this horizontal line of support that goes all the way back to May of 2021, while the monthly chart stochastic RSI is ridiculously oversold. Like, this tells me like Solana at the very least wants to go up to about $100. And so it's like, that's really exciting. And the small meme, this not meme coin, but the small altcoin that I'm paying attention to is Cards, the coin by Collector Crypt, again on Solana, which is the 4th ranked most revenue making DApp on Solana right now, week by week. And
not for long.
And
look out, here comes that rush.
although it has to compete against Pump.Fun, PumpSwap, Axiom as well. Those are the 3 ahead of it. It can probably get above Axiom, but it's probably not going to get above PumpFun. So we'll see. But, we've had this major correction down. We broke below the 200-day exponential moving average, and we got above it and we recovered. That's a really interesting sign of strength
bullish.
Here.
That chart looks good.
And also the weekly chart stochastic RSI is oversold. So I want to see how this weekly candle closes, because you could totally have something where it's like, hey, it does this, and there's like one more sweep of liquidity lower, you know. But if we can hold these key exponential moving averages between 14 cents to 16 cents and the weekly charts stochastic RSIs in oversold territory, really interesting time to be dollar cost averaging into the 4th highest revenue generating DApp on Solana that also has a very aggressive burn mechanic similar to Hyperliquid. So that's also very interesting to me as well. I'll stop sharing there. But again, the things I'm interested in, Bitcoin, Hyperliquid, which is also at an interesting area of support, Solana, cards, and Ethereum are the things that I'm really interested in like DCAing into.
Yeah. Which chart is that? Cvish asked. It's cards. CARDS. Listen, don't front run us. I
haven't bought any yet, man.
I haven't.
Let me buy some first.
But the chart is showing strength on a lot of these things, and I have been DCAing the whole time. I am most eager to DCA more Bitcoin, a surprise to no one, ETH, Sol, Hype, and I would consider cards to be like a gambly beta play. And I wouldn't even think of it as, too terribly gambly because it's got those fundamentals. It's on the front page of the crypto internet. And if Sol runs to $100, I would expect it to have an outsized performance run too, and would be willing to at least put a couple dollars of my Sol money into a play like that. I say a couple, meaning like a few percentage of what I'd spend on Sol, because Sol is the more sure thing, but they make money, man. And everybody is talking about them.
Guess what? Collector Crypt Cards has a $68 million market cap.
Oh my God, man.
Dude, it's small. It's small.
It's so small. Could you, I think all the time also, Alex, you're here in spirit, man. Alex always says, could you imagine how much money we could make if we were willing to do just a little bit of crime?
Just a little bit of crime?
Just a little bit of crime.
Dude,
with a market cap like that, man, we could write the check forever. But alas, we love you.
I feel like I'm still seeing the trend increase where people are caring about crypto tokens that have the buyback and burn stuff. Especially I saw it. So like Chainlink just announced another like actual partnership and stuff. Who is it? It was BitGo. Their Bitcoin is now going to be moved to Chainlink, and they're going to get like an extra 15 billion in terms of cumulative like TVL for them, except it's like their token didn't move at all. In fact, I think it went down, but it's like, just because of the nature. And I think that's where lots of new investors get tripped up in terms of crypto tokens to buy. It's like if the token itself doesn't actually accrue economic value from the business, then it's like, well, there isn't really a point to having it. So
yeah. Well, did you also see another thing that didn't move the price was, and this won't affect the price of Solana, but it is cool. But you saw that BlackRock filed with the SEC to issue a tokenized fund share on Solana. So BlackRock's building on a lot of stuff. They're building on Ethereum, they're building on Solana, but it's those two mainly. Unsurprisingly. Yeah.
No,
I will say I've done a full breakdown in our lives also of, because there are a lot of coins now that are introducing the buyback and burn policy because Hyperliquid made it so famous in their success. But the thing is it tends to not move the price of the token unless you have above a $50 million annual buyback pressure. Anything below 50 million, the price has really performed pretty shitty still. It needs to be more than that, closer to 100 million, similar to a Hyperliquid, in order to apparently have a measurable impact, at least in the bear market.
I'm sorry to everybody who's listening in podcast land or on YouTube, but just because you said numbers and some people are like, hang on, what? Can you repeat that?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I'll say it a little slower too as well, because I spoke too quickly.
No, it was good.
Okay. So I took a look at a lot of the coins that have buyback policies. Like Hyperliquid has something like, what is it? Like 95% of all of their fees that they generate.
Over 90%.
It's over 90%, result in them buying back the token. And so Hyperliquid did so well that a lot of crypto projects are copying that success. But a lot of them aren't exactly copying it. Like some of them are only doing like 20% or like a 10% or maybe a 50% buyback. But the thing is if you don't have as many users as Hyperliquid, the annual buyback pressure for some of these crypto projects is only something like, maybe it's like 20 million or like 30 million or $15 million a year in buyback pressure of them buying tokens off the market. And I found that of the coins that have introduced this so far, in the bear market, most of them have still largely underperformed despite having this thing that a lot of people are excited about, unless it is over $50 million annually of buyback pressure. If it's anything below 50 million, the price really still did pretty terribly. It had to be closer, honestly, even further away from 50 million, closer to $100 million a year in annual buyback pressure in order to have had the price perform well enough in the bear market for me to look at it and say there was a measurable impact, if that makes sense. So just because something has a buyback and burn policy doesn't mean that they're all equal to one another, because some of those products aren't getting used. So if the total revenue is small and then a small percentage of that revenue is resulting in an annual buyback and no one's paying attention to the damn thing, that alone is not going to save the token.
Excellent. Thank you very much for making the complex clear. And since we're talking about tokens with a buyback and burn policy based on revenue, it seems like an appropriate time to say thank you to one of our other sponsors who makes this show possible. I'm talking about Jito. Their JTO token is also subject to a buyback and burn, not as aggressive as Hyperliquid's, but of the DAO revenue proceeds, part of their revenue is governed by a DAO. I don't have the numbers on it off the top, and we would need to ask Dr. Nick because he's been talking about this lately, their head of governance, about making this more aggressive. They've got a proposal in play right now that 80% of all DAO revenue would be used to buy back and burn the JTO token. And that's another one I don't have the market cap numbers on, but which compared to the revenue the protocol does, the market cap of the token, I think has room to grow. And if the numbers are meaningful, that would be an easy way to push it there, especially now that they've launched JTX. If you haven't tried JTX yet, or you're not familiar with Jito, we had Andrew, core contributor, on the show yesterday explaining why their trading engine, he believes, can become the foundation not just of trades on-chain, a better experience, but the future of how people move assets anywhere, even stuff like stocks, your real-world assets, bonds, etc. So check them out at Jito.network. That's JITO.network. Stake your soul to get started and then enter the gateway to Solana DeFi. Now, Matthew, we've beat around the bush plenty. I am eager to hear what you have been working on since we saw you last. I do want to interrupt
you one more time, though.
Yeah.
Interrupt me one more time.
Just because we had this question pop up a few times. We did discuss SatRush already. You can go to the YouTube right afterwards, and you can reverse back to go and see it. The YouTube is the Rise Up Morning Show on YouTube, or you can type in Rise Up. I believe either will work.
Yes, and if you're watching it on X, just rewind about, we do a little hi, hello, how are you at the start of the show that personally I think is quite entertaining, but you can skip. We have the technology, and I will show it again at the end of the show. And if you're just tuning in from the White Whale, we are going to host the White Whale and Quicks from the White Whale Labs tonight, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern. This is the White Whale's first ever public interview. And we're going to talk about SatRush, but I also told him we were talking yesterday, and I was like, look, man, this is a 2-hour show. You don't have to stay the whole time. And I was like, but people are going to have questions for you. This is your very first public interview. They're going to want to hear about SatRush. Yes. Hooray. But they're also going to want to hear what's your craziest trade? Are you really an aquatic mammal? And so on and so forth. They're going to have so many, they're going to be like, that's what your voice sounds like, or whatever. You know what I mean? So tune in then. It's going to be.
That's what your voice sounds like?
I don't know. Don't say it like that, Evan. Come on.
Say it like that.
I didn't mean, you know what I mean, but just
what do you think about his voice?
I think he's got a beautiful voice. It's not, I'll be frank, what I pictured if I had met him first as the White Whale, I would be like, I was expecting more like Free Willy kind of vibes, but he sounds like a man.
A human?
Maybe disappointingly so. If you're expecting Free Willy, I want to temper your expectations, but it is going to be an excellent interview, an excellent appearance, and we will go much more into depth on SatRush then. So stay tuned, check it out, satrush.io. You can play now, rewind, watch at the end, then tune in tonight, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. We'll be hosting him and Quicks right here on Rise Up.
He doesn't sound like a whale. I want a refund. No, but the
Rugged.
yeah, the SatRush did launch on their Twitter page. They have like a minute 18-second long video. I don't know if you guys want to watch that or if you just want to.
Dude, do you want to screen it? We can listen.
Yeah,
we can
I
screen
can.
it. I have seen it. Hang on. Let's do this. Get my little screen share going. And the handle for SatRush, if you want to check it out, is at SatRush.io. Look at this. Look at this like shadowy figure. Ooh. Here we go. Let's check it out. The next Bitcoin rush begins on Solana, introducing SatRush. 21 blocks, 1 strike every minute. Bitcoin rewards waiting beneath the surface. Watch the trailer, then let us show you how it works. Here we go. We'll watch the trailer.
They
I
ventured
think I'm gonna have to
west.
click on the sound.
Chasing.
Hold tight. We're doing it live. Unmute. Start
I can
over.
hear the sound.
Yeah, we could hear
Oh,
it.
you
We
can?
can hear it.
Amazing.
We can hear it.
Amazing.
They ventured west, chasing a whisper. A rumor buried beneath dirt. River rock. And in the hearts of those who believed fortune favored the bold. The world called them fools, gamblers, men with dust in their lungs and hunger in their eyes. Every frontier has always belonged to those who could see destiny where others saw only dirt. Some came for gold, others came for glory, but most came because they could no longer accept the life they had been given. The frontier was measured, bought, extracted. Then came crypto. Prospectors became users, and every new machine was built to take more than it returned. The old frontier gave way to a new one, but man's hunger to change his fate remained. The frontier went underground. Now, a new rush is beginning. SatRush. Catch the rush.
Catch the rush.
Catch the rush.
Featuring what sounds like the voice of Sam Elliott, that great cowboy.
Oh,
of
yes.
old. Didn't
Oh.
it give you Sam Elliott vibes? Yeah.
Best mustache in Hollywood.
Whew. And honestly, one of the best voices too. I trust that guy.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know what it is. I just am like, he's trustworthy. Okay, excellent. Congratulations to the whale and team. SatRush.io is the handle. SatRush.io is the website. They have a whole thread here about how it works, but they've also got docs on the site. And like I said, we will get into it a little later tonight. I really want to get into Matthew's homework, but I also know that, Will, we're coming up on the time when you will have to give a final thought and ride your dogs and ponies into the sunset. So I'm glad to defer to you if that's what you must do now. And then
This
I
happened
will,
last time too.
I know
With Project Zero, Will had to go.
Well, I have 10 minutes.
okay.
I can give 10 minutes of my time. Matt, the floor is yours.
All right. Well, all right, that's all. No, just kidding.
I was like,
wow.
my mouse was hovering to the like remove myself from stage button. I was
Oh,
about
that's
to just-
Sorry, I just wanted to do that.
You had 10 minutes of my time and you wasted it.
So yeah, so a few weeks ago, whenever it was, yeah, Evan, you gave me this article written by, it was the friends over at, was it Delphi? Is that how you say it? Delphi
That's correct.
Digital, talking about stablecoins, sort of an overall report of stablecoins. And I feel like the report, more than anything, was a thesis on stablecoins. So I don't know. I read it, and I guess my job would be to share overall thoughts and everything on it. The first thing I guess I wanted to say, nothing that I read was like there's no like groundbreaking like new thing. It's not like I'm here to be like, here's like some new completely like groundbreaking way that stablecoins would be used that we don't know, but still it was a good dive to learn about stablecoins and what the real thesis is. I think lots of us know that like in the current state of crypto, that people are excited, or not, maybe not necessarily excited, but are talking about a few things. They're talking about perps, they're talking about prediction markets, and they're talking about stablecoins. But it's like, okay, what specifically about stablecoins? And we've heard institutional adoption for seems like years now from the lens of ETFs, but now potentially stablecoins as well. And what do the rails look like? We got, different companies building their own stablecoins, Clarity Act, building their own blockchains. What exactly is it going to all amount to? And I think that's kind of what the article was diving into. And I think there were a few takeaways from it that I think are important to talk about, that, I don't know, deal with the future of the stablecoins. And the first thing I wanted to talk about is not as exciting of a thing, and is more of a bottleneck thing that I don't think gets talked about enough, that will, I think, need to change in order for us to see, real meaningful use with stablecoins. And that has to do with the on and off ramp process. I think for retail users now, especially, we see it. If you're a big institutional player, you can have stablecoins minted and have more of a direct, I guess, partnership with Circle, and it's easier to just do it there. But for us, at least for me, if you're using a crypto product, if you're on chain and then you are like trying to on and off ramp, the only way I currently do it is through Coinbase. You have to do it through some sort of centralized exchange. So like I have, different wallets. I use different wallets, whether it be like Rabby or Phantom or SolFlare, or MetaMask, whatever. But I typically end up, if I'm wanting to on and off ramp, I'm happy to go back to Base every time, the Base app, and then send that to Coinbase. And that's not the most frictionless on and off ramp. And I think the article kind of dives into, right now it's centralized exchanges are kind of the only ones. And how exactly, do they get the permissions for that? And how is that going to expand? I think that's a topic that needs to be talked about more in terms of the overall stablecoin landscape, and is a current bottleneck right now. So that's, something that we'll need to get dived into, but I thought was interesting and of note, and isn't really talked about, I don't think, as much.
That's an area I expect to see more innovation, because there are a lot of consumer apps targeting that particular problem. And the one that comes to mind is one that I am helping accelerate at Super Team. So, like, disclosure, this is a totally biased take. There are, I am sure, other people who are building this kind of thing, but I will say, probably because that's where I'm spending time now, I see a lot of it happening on Solana. And everybody listening should know that anybody anywhere in crypto is going to have some kind of bias, because the whole space is getting bigger and you can only pay attention to so much. That's why some people are like, ICP is the future, man. Everything's happening there. Or Metallica's yield is the future. Everything's happening.
Jesus.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So take this with a grain of salt. I am absolutely not a Solana maxi, but I do happen to spend a lot of time incubating real startup companies there. One of them is called Spend. The whole thesis is there's no off-ramp, there's no KYC. You download their Chrome extension and you can use the stablecoins in your wallet to shop at Nike or Lululemon or eBay. Like, you don't have to wait for them to accept crypto at the checkout. You can just do it. And it's SP3ND if you're interested in looking them up. They definitely need test users. I think the product is cool. But my point in telling you that is there are many teams who know that bottleneck Matthew's talking about is the problem from stablecoins taking over, is how do we use them? How do we integrate them with the money stack we've already built? So, astute observation. And people who want to read the report, they can check it out at Delphi Digital. They have a link tree. You sign up for a free profile and you can check it out. It's super quick and painless. Thank you very much to Lindsay, host of Trust Issues, friend of the show, for bringing it to us. Matthew, proceed.
Yeah, I feel like a visual, I guess, comparison of that is it's like, when you're on chain, it's like you're in a slipstream of sorts, and it's almost like you're in a kind of like a bubble, and it's like you're able to move really quickly and all that stuff. But the problem is getting in there and then getting out. It's like an airplane. They talk about how the most dangerous parts of the flight are the takeoff and then when you're landing. When you're up in the air, you're cruising super fast and all that kind of stuff. So that's how I would, I guess, describe it. But yeah, The report does talk about how it dives into the traditional banking system, how things are usually how they're done today, and how blockchain and stablecoins kind of help with problems with that I guess I wanted to talk about next. And I'm going to screen share.
Before you do,
yeah,
I do need to run now.
Okay.
All right.
Have you got a last final thought?
Last final thought is even though I've said I'm starting to get the tinglings of bullishness again in the market, I'd say still be prepared to dollar cost average in this general range of chop for Bitcoin. It's just, you could chop up to 72K, could chop back down to 62K there. Still, we're still in this like consolidation market at best right now. I think we're still a little ways away from getting into a full-on bull market. I just kind of feel like maybe 57K really was the bottom. We're starting to see evidence of that across some of the altcoins too. But if you're starting to dollar cost average now off of that news or your own analysis and other people's analysis and combining all together, and you say, hey, I wasn't dollar cost averaging, I feel good about doing it now. Just be prepared to like take the money you have to invest and still like space that out over like a period of 3 months or so, and then use that to dollar cost average. And typically that ends up resulting in a better average price, as opposed to just going all in at once or saying, hey, I'm going to do it over 2 weeks or something. Just be patient is what I'm saying. Still be patient.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, he is your friend and mine, Mr. William Watson.
Thank you, everybody.
See you tonight, man. Okay, Matthew, I'm switching sides with you on the screen. Take away, if you want to do a screen share, go for it. We're here for you.
All right, I'm going to show this visual from the article because I thought it was really helpful in terms of just explaining how things currently go. Yeah, so that visual there you have on TikTok. The idea of a Nostro and a Vostro account. I hadn't heard of this prior to, I guess, reading and trying to learn about this. And it kind of has to do with how payments are settled now. So in terms of like the foreign exchange market and just payments and stuff like that, typically what happens is not everything always happens at once. If you're paying someone or if you're transferring funds from one currency to another, you in an ideal world, and where crypto comes in and blockchain rails, is that the idea of like atomic settlement, or what we see with like smart contracts, and what you see with your guys' on-chain transactions. When you do it, both sides of the trades happen at once. It allows for it's either all or nothing. If you're swapping USDC for Bitcoin, like it will happen at the same time. You either get the Bitcoin and you send the USDC, or just, the transaction doesn't happen at all. In the traditional financial world, that doesn't necessarily happen. Sometimes you'll send your dollars and then the asset you get back will happen later, but sometimes it's way later. Sometimes it's later than expected, and then settlement happens days, and it takes lots of time. So then banks have what are called Nostro and Vostro accounts, and is essentially like a reserve of, for example, the US bank, if a foreign country or foreign bank was wanting to do a transaction with the US bank, they already have a set amount of reserves at the US bank, and vice versa. Just in the case, for settlement's sake, that something doesn't work, it's just so they almost have a buffer. And having blockchain rails kind of gets rid of the need for that, because of how transactions do happen all in one. So you won't need this buffer, and it allows for what I guess you could call more, what do you call it? I mean, it has to also do with the concept of, your liquidity being having higher velocity, but more capital efficient in terms of your liquidity. And it's the same idea behind inventory at a store, where if you have, like, let's just say Walmart is going to sell 1,000, they're going to sell 1,400 bottles of water and in 2 weeks or something like that. A store could either buy like it all in one go, or if they're going to on average sell like 200 bottles a day, then they only need to have the inventory of like, a little more, and then they just keep replenishing each day. And this is kind of the same idea. If a company needs to make $5 million in payments, let's just say they need to pay $1 million to 5 different vendors in one day. In a typical system, you're going to need, each payment is going to take a day or two to settle. So you're going to need that $5 million, $1 million, 5 different ways, and have to pay it. But with blockchain and stablecoins, you're going to be able to, if you have a payment you need to pay at noon, you can do that $1 million payment, and then it swaps and it's good. And you get that $1 million, not necessarily back, but if it's an exchange, then you can swap that for whatever currency you have, and then use that, and you have another payment at 2 o'clock. You can use that money you got there and go back. So you're able to use that $1 million 5 different ways. It makes your liquidity more versatile, more Evan, what's the word you typically use to describe the velocity? That's what it is.
Yes.
Allows for more capital efficiency, and that's kind of also the same idea behind when we talk about TVL on blockchains more efficient. I know Will was talking about how Ethereum and Solana, the TVL, while Ethereum has maybe more TVL, the TVL on Solana is more efficient. It's not just sitting there, it's providing economic value. And that's what stablecoins, allow you to do. When I take money from my Venmo account and send it to my bank, it's kind of held within 1 to 3 days. Well, when that's happening, I'm not able to earn yield on it or do anything like that. But with stablecoins, it allows those transactions to happen simultaneously. So then I can start earning and using that money, quicker and earning. And that's kind of the idea of how it'll be able to happen at an institutional scale as well.
Now, you said that Nostro Vostro was a new language concept for you. You got to learn something, right?
I did, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you know that when XRP was first iterated, talked about, produced a white paper, that one of the very compelling concepts that still sticks in people's minds when they first hear about cryptocurrency and get excited about XRP is Nostro Vostro? This is because it is a pretty cool concept. Like, it would be expensive for every bank everywhere in the world to spend $1 million just to cover all the, let me buy $1 million of euro. Let me buy $1 million of yen. Let me buy $1 million. Like, that gets expensive over time to do that with every client bank in amounts that your customers would require to transfer money. Like, that's liability that you got to take on. So once upon a time, the Ripple team introduced this concept to cryptocurrency believers, really in a big way for the very first time, and said, what if instead of needing to buy $1 million of every asset they might want to transact in, there was one bridge asset that they could hold that would allow them to have this Nostro Vostro instant settlement, a bridge asset, if you will, and seamlessly, instantly, fast and cheap, move money across borders. At that time, and still today, many people got very excited about this concept. As you know, stablecoins have become a more competitive and just more used Nostro Vostro solution than the volatile centralized asset XRP. Liquidity is higher for most major stablecoins. Most major stablecoins settle to more pairs than tokens like XRP. They live on more networks. But this concept of Nostro Vostro, because people understand it so easily, still causes folks who aren't in touch with the data to think that XRP is the only solution and will be the best solution because they owned the narrative of Nostro Vostro in crypto. And you will still encounter people who argue with you that that is why XRP must be used as the bridge asset, because Nostro Vostro is a real need in the world.
Yeah, so I actually have a few data points I wanted to bring up. I was going to touch on that next, the whole XRP argument. So with that comes the idea of okay, so what's going to be that, that bridge asset? At the end of the day, you can't just swap one asset for another without there being liquidity there. It happens the same thing like with your transactions today. If you're going to be swapping Bitcoin for, USDC or something like that, there still needs to be that liquidity pool underneath, the idea of LPing. where you provide the two assets. Someone provides Bitcoin, someone provides USDC, and on Uniswap you can give money to liquidity pools, and we talk about the ranges you want to set, and that's where that happens. And that'll still be the case at a larger scale. The idea would be that probably market makers or banks still probably will be the liquidity providers, whether they just want those dollars to they just want to have that currency for hedging purposes or for their whatever reason. That'll still be the case. So yeah, the question comes to be, what will the bridge asset of choice be? And I don't know. I personally just don't. The argument for XRP still doesn't make too much sense to me. The Bank for International Settlements had created a report of their foreign exchange markets, kind of what the volume is, and what the over-the-counter markets for foreign exchanges, what the volume for all that was. And they said in 2025, on average, this was, for example, in the month of April, they reached $9.6 trillion per day in terms of volume, and that 89.2% of the trades used the US dollar for that bridge asset. And if you look at the total volume of XRP on all spot pairs on exchanges, they're only sitting at 3.2 billion, which is a lot less than is currently being used by the US dollar.
That's like less than 1,000th of 1%.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. And the dollar, and it's almost ironic because the biggest pairing for XRP is against the dollar right now. And if you look up the price of XRP, it's like, well, what's it getting paired against? It's getting paired against the dollar right now. So,
and probably the dollar in the form of Tether, I would imagine.
Yeah, USDT.
Yeah. Just to add some color to that, there are lots of reports you can look up. There's lots of good information about this. You can find, fact check me on this, my friend, that Tether as a token settles to more other tokens and fiat currencies than any other. And the liquidity for it is so deep that it facilitates billions of dollars in transacting a day and trillions of dollars in transaction settlements every year. I think the latest figure is 5 to 6 trillion.
Fact check yourself,
in
brother.
2025. It accounts for over 80% of all volume worldwide. Most of that is happening outside the United States, but in every single payment corridor except some places in the Western world and a few places in Asia, like I think Japan is the only exception. Let me back up. Tether is dominant over USDC, which is the second contender everywhere in the world except some spots in the Western world. Notably, Tether is not compliant in Europe. It's less compliant than USDC in the United States, but Tether's solution to that has been, let's build a US compliant token. I imagine if Europe becomes a bigger market, because right now it's really not a very big market for stablecoins, it accounts for like single-digit percentages of Tether's potential volume, then they'll probably build a compliant token there because they have the money to do it. The only place, the only corridor that XRP is even like in any part of the market share, I think it's less than 10% in 2025, is in Japan. And I think a lot of that honestly has to do with some of the metrics that they generated for PR. Often a company like Ripple, which has a lot of money to deploy, will move some of their treasury into an asset like RLUSD in order to say, there are $150 million of RLUSD tokens on chain. This is not the same as people are using RLUSD to settle everyday meaningful economic activity the way they are with Tether, but they're counting on you not to know that. They're counting on you to read their press release or hear it from an influencer before you're able to fact check it on chain. But you can fact check these numbers on chain, and really, you should. The Delphi Digital Report, it sounds like, is a good place to start. But I would also recommend the Artemis State of Stablecoins report that came out last year with numbers for 2024, but they've published a few more forward-looking numbers. And I don't know, Matthew, you said this is kind of a general overview, but in this report, do they have comparative numbers about like how much RLUSD settles or how much Tether settles?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. They really do not, like, RLUSD isn't even like, talked about much. They might have mentioned it once or twice, but the volume of it is so small relative to giants like Tether that they didn't even, put it in. They talked about the duopoly between Circle and Tether right now. They talked about how there are some other, potential stablecoin issuers who might, break their way into having more of a market share, whether that be Paxos was one of them. But yeah, RLUSD wasn't even particularly talked about as much. And, maybe if you're a big believer in Ripple, that maybe RLUSD will for some reason become the bridge asset of choice. But even so, that's USD. And it's similar to how I was talking about with Chainlink, even with their, the Chainlink is actually doing things relative like economic activity, but their model doesn't accrue value to the token. Chainlink's token isn't going up the same way that XRP wouldn't necessarily go up, even if in this hypothetical world that RLUSD becomes the bridge asset of choice.
Well said. Now, do you have any other insights for us from the Delphi digital report, or shall we move on to the next bit of your homework?
Let me see. I've written down a few things.
And while you're doing that, let me just ask the audience, if you want to give Matthew homework, if you've got a question or you have something you want to share and you're listening live, then leave it in the comments. And if it won't fit in the comment, two options for you. The first option is, of course, to head where the show lives 24/7, where you can share screenshots, get on a voice call, meet your new best friend, and more. Community.rumshq.com. I mentioned a voice call. One of the features we've just expanded for premium members is we have created a Discord where they can voice and video call totally free. We're sketched out by Discord, but we think that one, just for voice all the time, where you can hang out and talk with your friends, that deserves to be a premium feature. You can start a premium trial there, try it free for 10 days, get it for $30 before the end of the summer when it goes up to $100 a month, and always free at the Bane community in the circle. And then if you can't make it there, then you can send us an email. We have got a new address. Thank you very much, Tori. Questions@rumshq.com. Attach a screenshot. If you're looking at something, you don't know how to transfer this token from your wallet, you're not sure if that website is a scam, you want to know what Will thinks about a particular chart, then you can email that question to questions@RUMS, RUMSHQ.com, and we'll answer it on the show. Take it away.
Yeah, so there are two other points that I wanted to touch on with the report. And one is kind of like, okay, who really benefits from this, or what can really benefit from this? And I know you guys have talked about it a lot in terms of, people through your individual TikTok accounts who are DMing, but the people who are really going to benefit is the people who live in countries whose currencies aren't as stable, whose currencies aren't as strong. Currently, the way the model works, like I said, having to be able to set up banks and having different currencies in two separate places, the cost to run an FX, a foreign exchange market for a currency that isn't as stable or isn't as popular is really high right now. So the fees you end up paying are really high, just for the fact of being able to maintain that. And that will go down significantly with stablecoins. I know you guys have had examples of people coming to you talking about how stablecoins in crypto has allowed them to have dollars and access to a more stable asset way easier than they would be able to have otherwise. So that will be of great help. And again, how dollars will kind of be the bridge asset for that is definitely going to be continue the trend, going to be a trend that continues to happen. So that'll be cool to see, because we're fortunate here, us being in the U.S. as we are, having access to such a stable currency. But it's nice that this will be able to help worldwide, which is definitely a great thing. And then the last point I guess I wanted to touch on is like, okay, so like I think a lot of people would be listening to this and kind of be like, cool, great. How do I benefit from this? Like, can I get money off this? Like, what do I invest in, off of this? And that's kind of the thing where I'm like, I don't know if there's necessarily something that, the individual user is going to be able to benefit from, in the sense that like there's, I don't know, you're not gonna be able to ape into a meme coin that's gonna go to the moon from this or something like that. And I think that's why I know you and Alex especially, I feel like, has tried to err on the side of caution of like, why are we so excited that institutions are coming on chain? Like, that's great. If you believe in the tech and are just like good tech, that like, yeah, that is something to really be excited about. And as a fan of blockchain infrastructure, I think it is cool. But in terms of like what we know, like crypto as from like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and like Solana, all that kind of stuff, it doesn't necessarily, like, it's not going to make all those prices go up. This is kind of, a separate thing. The banking system will continue to be the banking system. It will use crypto rails probably, but at the end of the day, like, I don't know, Bitcoin's still going to be Bitcoin, and all that other stuff is going to remain true. I think that from a credibility standpoint, if blockchain infrastructure and people becoming more familiar with wallets and that kind of stuff increases, I think you will potentially see, second order effects for crypto prices to go up, the credibility, and will be able to go up, and people won't just see it as like a scam necessarily. So I think a second order effect could kind of help, but I don't think you're going to see any direct investment that you're able to just gain from, institutional adoption. I guess maybe you could argue Circle, and I know that's why Will is very, bullish on their stock. And I think it's fair to think that Circle will continue to have a major role in all of this, and maybe users will be able to benefit from owning their stock in that way, because I think you will continue to see Tether and Circle have quite the dominant presence, because with a lot of this, I think it's more about who has the liquidity versus maybe who has, the cheapest, route or platform. It's kind of in a similar vein, and that's just the nature of how it works. And I would say that's comparable to the cold card exploit that we just had now in terms of cold storage, where I think in terms of cold storage, you're going to want to use the cold storage device that has been the most battle tested and, over time, who has shown that they can secure your assets. Because, and maybe a newer cold storage platform comes out that has better tech, technically might be able to store your assets safer, but you really don't know. And what you can really know is by just the nature of time. And that's a component for cold storage, how that's the case. And just like with this, it's all about liquidity. So I think that's how you'll see. It's definitely a first mover advantage of sorts. So yeah, I think there will be more players and stuff. You'll probably see, everyone's going to have their own stable coin and stuff like that. You're probably going to have multiple different networks who are, competing and have different purposes that they specialize in. So you'll see multiple players. It won't probably be a monopoly, but there's also probably not going to be 1,000 different like payment rails and stuff like that, because then that would get into fragmented liquidity, to which, we don't want. So I think it'll be definitely a medium of the two, if I had to guess.
And I am inclined to agree with you. I think it's a very astute observation that where liquidity flows, that's where everything, liquidity begets liquidity, users beget users. We call that network effects in the biz. I know you have some more homework to get to, and we're at about that time where we got to start thinking about riding our dogs and ponies into the sunset. I am not going to shortchange you whatsoever. I simply want to make some housekeeping reminders to say, if you've got a question for Matthew, you've got some homework to assign him. He is our research analyst and intern extraordinaire, which means that's exactly what he's here for. And I want you to know that he is making excellent educational content, sharing a little behind the scenes perspective on what it's like to be the intern at Rise Up on TikTok and Instagram. And also you can connect with him on X at 0x Matthew. We need to figure out a quick way to say this. W1L4Y 0xW14L4Y. Oh my God. Rewind it and then try to say it 5 times fast. But he needs your follows. He needs your feedback. He needs your homework. He is an intern for the people. Rise Up is not owned by the few. It is for the many, and we are the many. So, And check out, look at this handsome guy. Who doesn't want more of this on their timeline? Matthew.
Bro. Yeah, disregard the
No.
other or not if you want. I don't know. Start a new series calling it Intern Insights, where I'm gonna dive into. Gosh, I look so young then.
Dude,
Anyways.
5,000 likes for the smooth face and the tie, dude. I'm just saying.
That was, I think it was my
Cleans up
my
pretty well.
tennis. That was for my tennis form of my junior year, I think. Anyways, starting a new series, calling it Intern Insights, where I'll just dive into topics that the guys talk about on the various shows. And in the case that they might have missed something or just not had the time to dive into context, just making videos talking about, something you might have missed, something that, might be interesting for you guys to know as well. So that'll be on the TikTok account.
Some random person commented, Matthew is putting the 10 in tennis in that selfie. I don't know who it was, but yep, got to agree.
All right.
All right. You've got some more homework to share with us, and I'm looking forward to hearing it. What else have you got for us today?
I would say I don't know if there's anything specific.
You don't have more homework. I thought surely Alex, fact check Bueller. I feel like there was another piece of homework. I know I assigned you the stablecoin report. If there's nothing else, then honestly, we can do a round of final thoughts or even surprising observations. We can play a prediction.
So the last thing I wanted to retouch on, I know Alex had previously assigned me the Robinhood stuff, to which I touched on After Dark, but I think it would be good just to, remind people about it. So Robinhood, they've released the Robinhood chain, which is, their take on an L2. And it's kind of funny how, if you look at their current TVL chart, it's typical. And then people with memes, they had high volume because of memes. And now it's kind of curved off some, to which, wow, shocker. Whoever would have guessed that would have happened. But yeah, I'm still hopeful, though, that Robinhood is going to have trying to have some sort of meaningful economic activity on chain. They introduced what they're calling Robinhood Earn, which is within the Robinhood app. So I think you'll need like an actual Robinhood account for that. Can't just do it on chain, where they're advertising 7% APY on stablecoins for deposit. It's through an integration with Morpho. It's very similar to what Coinbase did with their integration with Morpho. That's a really high amount. I've not seen 7% APY on chain in a while. I feel like Carrot before Drift, the exploit, was like the last time I had seen that. Rest in peace, Carrot. But so I dove a little bit into that in how that's all even possible. And it's heavily incentivized right now, to which honestly I think is a good thing, to where it's like I don't have to worry about there being, as them giving out money in some like crazy weird fashion. It's through Morpho. It's the same as if you're going to be in, like a state. It's through, I think Steakhouse is the curator. But for a year, they're juicing the yield. They want to get liquidity onto the chain. So it's a good way, I think personally, to have exposure to a DeFi market, but also get kind of the best rate you're going to get. And it's, in terms of a DeFi play, it's as low risk as you're going to get, to which, still might be a high risk, given all the exploits that we've seen recently. DeFi Llama had put out a report talking about how the past 4 months have been the 4 highest months for number of hacks in the DeFi space since DeFi summer has happened. So that's definitely still concerning. Lots, I guess I say recently, I don't think many of them have been as large as Drift was, but still definitely a concerning statistic. But Morpho has been doing well. But yeah, that is still rolling out to US users. I have tried to figure out what the rhyme or reason or how they are distributing access to that for users. I still haven't gotten it myself on the app. My dad hasn't either. He's a user of Robinhood. I've seen people online saying it's been rolled out to them. I have tried to see if people have been complaining about it, and people haven't. So I don't know. It's still progressively rolling out to users, but I think it could be a really good opportunity to earn yield on stablecoins. It's in USDG, which is the Paxos, the stablecoin that they have. It allows for Robinhood to keep the yield themselves. It's very liquid. So I wouldn't be concerned about it not being USDC or USDT. But yeah, I'm gonna. There's a few comments, Evan. I don't know if you wanted to talk. Oh, that's kind of something different. But I was just gonna try and pull up the Merkl campaign, because I think that'll be a good, tell of like, oh, okay, this is where the yield's coming from.
Yeah, that sounds great. I was looking in the background on DeFi Llama and I have it prepped, but it's mostly just a visual representation of everything you've said. So please feel free, and I will assist you with a screen share on TikTok. If you're listening in podcast land, you know that YouTube is the best place to go to see the screen share and see all of us on your TV, in your phone, in your truck. See Vish, everybody. I also want to shout out our friend of the show and chief gift officer, Mr. Solom Spartan. He has been dropping the galaxies in TikTok, and I know that he goes around every single day supporting helpful education. I want to thank him especially for gifting Matthew the intern. Every bit helps, and that definitely makes a difference.
Please. I'm living off the intern salary. Help.
Living off the intern salary, yeah.
Help.
We're trying to get Matthew a new pair of shoes, so thank you.
Yeah, please. Evan, I'm curious. Do you know this? Someone asked, is Paxos gold backed? Do you know what their reserve percentage is off the top of your head?
Yeah, let's find out what the reserve percentage is. I don't know off the top of my head, so I'm going to just start by Googling. I'm going to go to paxos.com. And if you've never been here before, this is their helpful website that says the safest way to own investment grade gold. I'm going to look into the exact backing while you show this Merkl tree. Give me a second.
Yep. I would say I got the screen share up.
Yep. Hang on. Here I come.
All right. So this is Merkl. They are an incentives distributor. So basically Robinhood's like, hey, we want to juice the yields for this. We have, we have liquidity we want to give. Merkl's like, got it. We will take care of distributing.
Are they like a turtle club?
It's I'm pretty sure they are, from what, as far as I'm concerned. And actually, when Katana was doing their stuff at Turtle Club, Merkl was still like, they had all their stuff on there too. But
got it.
Yeah, actually, no, they definitely are, because even in the Katana app or whoever is partnered with Merkl, it's like you click in Morpho, it'll be like claim through Merkl. So it definitely is. But you can see. So the incentive is, and I clicked in it, it's on the Robinhood chain for Morpho, supply to Steakhouse USDC V2 Vault on Morpho from Robinhood. So you can actually go into Morpho, and maybe that also would be a useful exercise after this. You can see the vault itself on Morpho. The problem is you won't get the reward APY unless you're doing it through Robinhood. So you can see that the protocol APR is 3.28%. So without the incentivized rewards, that's kind of the yield be getting, which lines up with what yields right now are on the DeFi market. For the most part, you'll get like low 3s to high 3s typically for a good market. You can see the TVL is 287.45 million, which I would say is pretty significant for a DeFi market. I would feel pretty good about parking some money in here. What you'll need is USDG, which is, again, like I was talking about, that dollar stablecoin. And what you earn is, they're calling it stake USDG, which is essentially just dollars that auto get accrued into your balance. And it's really nice. And you can see that the Merkl APR, the rewards right now, is 3.99%, giving you a total APR right now of 7.28%. 7% is that targeted APY that Robinhood wants, and then it'll fluctuate. So I've seen it above 7%. I've seen it a little below 7%. And then you can see that the active rewards are going for 330 days. So this is how long the campaign will go for, which ends up being a year from the start date. So that's what it looks like in Merkl. And it's nice that the rewards are in USDC or USDG and not some like Robinhood coin or something like that. And first I want to say, yeah, APY versus APR. I'm pretty sure in this case they're kind of the same thing. It's kind of hard because they might technically be different by definition, but they're used interchangeably between these DeFi interfaces. So I think it's more of a nuanced thing than anything. But yeah, with other DeFi campaigns, they'll give you like a highly juiced APY, but then you'll see that lots of the rewards are giving out in these other incentive tokens that they're, giving in some, what they think it'll potentially be worth in dollars at a future point, but isn't guaranteed. will go on for days and days if I'm not stopped about the Katana campaign. They were advertising like 40% APY, but like 35% of it was in the cat tokens, which ended up only being worth like 2%. So it being in dollars is real. That is a real a 7%. So hoping that I can get my hands on it and kind of, show what it looks like to deposit, because I think that'll be a really good, it's definitely an intro level, I would say, step to DeFi too. It's Robinhood's going to be able to walk you through it too. So
now I will stop you so you don't have to worry or have any kind of trauma flashbacks from Katana to tell you, since you asked about PaxG, and I've got the information on the backing here. I will give it to you. But first, let me tell people what backs USDG, because it is like a new-ish stablecoin token, but it is growing in popularity. They've got a deal with Kraken, where Kraken is incentivized to use that as their premier stablecoin. Now they're integrating with Robinhood. Steakhouse is like the top, I do believe they are the top yield curator for USDC and several other stablecoins. They might be the top yield curator on chain. I guess it depends on what you're measuring, but they're one of the big boys. The USDG token is fully backed 1-to-1 for 1-to-1 by cash, dollar deposits, and short-term U.S. government securities. Those are held in like bankruptcy remote accounts, so nobody's going to seize that money. It is a token issued by Paxos, and it is supported by the Global Dollar Network Consortium, which is like the Open USD Consortium. I don't know who the members are. I'm looking here. Paxos Digital is a Singapore limited liability company, which makes sense. Singapore, if you didn't know, is one of the biggest places for crypto. People say, the USA is going to be the crypto capital of the world, but they got some competition and they're not running the race, Go ahead.
And I was going to say, I've seen, I think they touched about it in the articles where I saw it, people having some concern with Paxos that it's like, oh, it's in Singapore and not like the US, but also I believe that they were talking about how Circle is also involved in Singapore. And then Tether literally like is outside of the US. Like they're not even, like they're trying to get compliant in the US right now.
Yeah.
So
the Global Dollar Network, like OpenUSD, Open Standards Consortium, strike that, reverse it. It is 150 plus enterprise partners, crypto companies like Anchorage Digital, Bullish, the parent company behind CoinDesk, Galaxy Digital, Kraken, and also companies like Paxos. Robinhood is a member of that consortium, OKX, Gemini, and then companies from fintech and payment processors like WorldPay, Visa, Mesh, Meow. I've not heard from them. A couple of banks and several different DeFi protocols too. So very similar to Open Standard, which shares some members there. Interesting double play. And then you asked about Paxos, the PaxG token. That is their gold-backed stablecoin. That is backed 1-to-1 with a single fine troy ounce of gold. Those are stored in LBMA's vaults in London. And if you own a PaxG token, you own the underlying physical gold. And the custodian is Paxos Trust Company. You can redeem it for the accredited good delivery gold bullion anytime. Institutional customers also use PaxG, and they redeem it usually for unallocated Loco London gold, which is unfamiliar to me, but this is per Paxos.com. Interesting. Very cool.
There you go. Got a good fact check. Yeah, the last thing I have to share regarding the Robinhood stuff is I'm going to go to Morpho, where you can actually find this vault yourself. It's all on chain. It's not just Robinhood being like, oh, we're going to go ahead and just say we have this. So this is what it looks like when you go to the vaults on Morpho. So yeah, and the biggest vault, ironically, Steakhouse, this is the one of the vaults that if you deposit USDC on Coinbase into their lending program, this is where it goes. It's that vault on Base. But if you go to the Robinhood chain, you can actually see this is the vault that it gets allocated to. So it's got that 3.27 APY right now. Just you're not going to get the incentive rewards on the Morpho platform. That's why they do it through Merkl, is to ensure that you have to do it through Robinhood. Because on Morpho, you can actually see that like they do incentives through their own. So this is a PayPal USD thing, and you can see that they have like APY that's boosted by like they have that boosted yield, that plus 4.15%, you see. So you can do it within the Morpho platform. That just ensures that you have to do it through Robinhood instead. But yeah, that's that. Hopefully next time I come back on, I'll have an update, be like, guys, I got access to it. Because right now I'm looking for places to park my USDC, just because I don't know, the safety concerns with DeFi, as well as just rates aren't even that crazy right now. Not exactly sure, but hoping I can do it there. So
Matthew, I'm going to come to you for a final thought in just a moment. If you've got a final thought, leave it in the comments. Tori says, for real, let's get Matthew a raise. And if you've got a question, I want to hear it. We have one in the comments. And on the way there, On Truth, a Storm says, hey, Matthew, you can park those tokens in my wallet. Thank you very much, On Truth, a Storm. What a great public service.
That, but that's funny.
Will you assist me with a screen share? I'm going to go to DeFi Llama to answer this question from Pecos. Hey, Pecos, it's great to see you. Thank you for trusting us to help. They want to know, how can I stake my ICP? And to answer that question, I am going to travel to the place DeFi metrics live. I'm talking about DeFiLlama.com. Matthew, would you tap the button on mobile to give the...
screen share.
Yeah. It'd be super helpful. And I will zoom in and out to try and give you a better view. But if you've never been here before, DeFiLlama.com is a free-to-use wealth of information that is all verifiable on-chain, which means that it is not sourced by a press release. It's not trust me, bro. It is literally written into the records that are maintained by computers all over the world that give life to that thing we call a blockchain. You can fact check everything that's here, and they often give you the links to do it. They've got a helpful sidebar that'll allow you to navigate. And today, where I'm going to go is to percent yields in this sidebar. Because one of the things DeFi Llama lets you do is look up places to earn yield on tokens you like for doing the things that matter to you. You can sort this search by whether or not you are going to earn, borrow, loop. They have reference rates. They have the ability to sort by incentivized rewards, like the ones Matthew just showed us, where somebody's sprinkling extra on top, or intrinsic rewards. You can sort by APYs over time in the last 7 days, the last 30 days. You can rank it by stablecoins only. I mean, it's such a super search tool. Not sponsored by DeFi Llama. And though we could be, this will probably always be our privilege to give them the public service. I cannot believe this website is free, and I can't believe there are people out there doing DeFi who do not use it. To you, I say, again, thank you very much. Enough of that. Here's what we're going to do. We've gone to the yields tab, and we're going to search for tokens with this little bar they give here. I'm going to type ICP. 3 individual tokens come up. I'm going to check mark ICP, and we want an exact match. Let me see. Where's my confirm button? Okay. Yeah, come on. DeFi Llama, don't fail me now, baby.
It might already be in there.
No pools match current filters. Okay, that's interesting. Now I'm going to do something else. I'm going to go back to the Home tab. And on the Home tab, the very first feature in this widget is they allow you to sort through options for earning DeFi yield based on blockchain. And these are ordered by who has the most total value locked to who has the least total value locked. The reason they order it this way is not because they think, Ethereum is better than Binance Smart Chain or Solana or whatever. It's because there is the most stuff to do there. Most of their customers want to go where there's stuff to do, where it's secure, where the yields are plentiful, and the options are many. So Ethereum is top of the list. And, if you're new to DeFi or you're a crypto user, you should know that it's not even close. Most DeFi happens on the Ethereum network. That's not a statement of favoritism. Some people hear it that way. I'm not some Ethereum maxi. I'm just telling you the truth. That's where DeFi right now lives. Whether you're an individual or an institution, if you want to make your money work on chain, you go to the Ethereum network. But there are opportunities, as you can see, just about everywhere. I'm going to go over here for this Others tab, and I'm going to use it to search ICP. Let's see if it comes up. It does. And let's zoom out a little bit. Sorry if you're watching the... oh, come on. I don't want to try Llama AI. Not right now. Thank you so much. Although it is good. Alex has got the subscription. Now, there are a couple of different metrics here that we can see, like about the total value locked on chain, but that's not what we want to find. We want to scroll down to see the different protocol rankings. I see here that we can, each of these is clickable. We can go to all these different places to try and find rewards on ICP. And I'm kind of surprised that they didn't have this in search results. So I'm just going to go to, these protocols are arranged by that metric TVL. This number just reflects how much money is locked up in protocols on that platform producing yield. In the case of your question, Pecos, you asked about staking. So I'm going to look at this liquid staking protocol. It's got $5 million of total value locked, which seems pretty good to me. And it's native to the ICP network, so it's probably going to be one of the better places to earn yield on ICP. This is a liquid staking protocol. They've got the link to the website, the GitHub, the Twitter right here. I've never heard of it, but I do want to scroll down because sometimes they'll show you the different pools. Looks like they don't. Okay, I'm going to the website. We're switching over to waterneuron.fi. Another great thing about DeFi Llama is when you're walking around in the crypto world and you're clicking stuff, going to websites, you never know where you're going to end up. But DeFi Llama is going to verify, vet. It doesn't necessarily mean this is a good investment opportunity, but it does mean that you're not going to have to worry about going to some scammy website. Lots of disclaimers here. Non-custodial, protocol is experimental, I'm at least 18, yada, yada. And let's see what I can do. I can stake ICP here for a token called NICP. This type of website is known as a liquid staking protocol. Staking usually means you are not giving up ownership of your tokens, but you're reassigning them to do the work of securing the network. And for the time that they are doing that work, they are often locked. This is not a requirement like a bank has a requirement. This is written into the code of the ICP protocol. ICP is the name of the token. It's also the name of a network or a computer protocol that functions according to its programming. And if the Internet Computer Protocol says staked tokens must be unstaked before they can be unlocked, and the unstaking period is 7 days, that is not because they're trying to extract from you. It's because they're trying to design a network that has favorable conditions for the people who need those tokens to do the work of validating. If I've said something that's lost you, we can slow it down another time. But for now, you just need to understand, again, this is not an extractive, trying to take advantage of you process. This is like a utility that says, hey, these tokens are doing a job. It's hard for us to do this job unless they can be locked up for a certain amount of time. Now, that is inconvenient for people like us who might want the tokens we own back because we want to sell them and take some profit, or swap them into something else or whatever because we own them. And so one genius person, first on the Ethereum network and then other places, said, you know what would be cool? What if we had a token that represented my staked tokens that could be used as a receipt so I could get them back, but could also be used in all the ways those locked tokens might be used, so that I don't have to wait a 7-day or 20-day period for them to unstake, but I can take them places and they will have that word Matthew said earlier, velocity. This is a liquid staking token like this token here, NICP. It is just Waterneuron's version of the value of your staked ICP. That's what it is. Now, to stake here, I've got to connect a wallet. I would do that with the login button. I imagine you would use maybe a smart plug. That's what the ICP wallet was back in the day when I was using the Internet Computer Protocol. I have not used the ICP network in a long time. So we might need to do some further digging together, Pecos. But I can see here that the total value locked is 2.3 million ICP. Not an insignificant number, but I think that translates to what's the price of ICP now? Like less than 10 cents. So that translates to about $23,000. That gives me some pause. But the APY is 8%, and there are 1,400 people using this protocol to stake their ICP. Honestly, that's a little small. The APY is not bad, but I might look other places. I might go back to DeFi Llama, and I would check on that list of places to earn interest. And I would see, do any of these other places that I can click into from here allow me to stake my ICP and earn a better yield? Of course, there are other options. Maybe you can stake your ICP on a venue like Coinbase or Kraken, a centralized exchange. Usually, the interest rates are not as good, but often the experience is simpler, better for people who already trust Coinbase or Kraken or whoever their exchange service provider is with the custody of their assets. Matthew, I'm going to stop the screen share in just a second. Pecos, if you have more questions, then the best place to bring them, in addition to the comments right now, is the community linked in the bio or accessible to you anywhere you get the internet at community.rumshq.com. If you understood this and you have more questions, leave them there. If you didn't understand this and have more questions, definitely leave them there. Staking, it is an important part of what makes blockchain great, but it comes with a little jargon that can be sometimes difficult to understand. Matthew, do you have anything that you would like to add to that explanation? Anything you think is worth double clicking on or questions you think might be good for follow-up?
No, I mean, I think you did a perfect job in terms of explaining staking, liquid staking, and stuff like that. I think that when it comes to finding a staking provider, you want someone, again, that has a lot of users and has a lot of TVL, like a lot of volume. The problem with going off of just volume is that you could have a pool theoretically with like $200 million in total value locked stake, but there's only like 3 stakers and someone has like an incredibly large amount of its stake or something like that. This is just, an idea. So you want to make sure it's spread across that, there's lots of people that trust and use it. There's a question that just got asked, does higher yield always mean higher risk or volatility? That typically ends up being the case and is a general benchmark. It doesn't necessarily mean that's the case. There are sometimes, and there are a reason that the Steakhouse of the worlds are the preferred curators of choice, because they are able to provide security with higher yield as well. They just have an advantage in their model where they're able to do that. But in general, for a general rule of thumb, that typically is what it means.
Matthew, can you actually bring the screen share back really quickly, please? Because I want to help answer that question with a visual aid. Thanks again to our friends at DeFi Llama. Quick says DeFi Llama is goated.
Correct.
Absolutely, my friend. Now, what we're looking at here is the homepage of DeFiLlama.com. I scrolled down a little bit. Another thing it shows is every pool in order of TVL, just by default. But you can use these headers to sort these pools. This is just all pools. Remember, we searched a second ago for pools on the Internet Computer Protocol network. But this is just all the pools on all the chains sorted by TVL. But I'm going to sort them by APY. This is another way to say yield, annual percentage yield. I'm going to toggle this, and it's going to show me the protocols with the highest APY. Look at this. 973,000% yield. Yeah, you read that right. That is for a token pair called Honk and Gram on a protocol called DDust with a meager $14,000 of TVL. Now, here is what determines that yield. TVL is the first and most important part. Imagine, if you will, you are creating a pool or a vault where people can do the work of trading one asset for another. That is literally what this is. This is a computer program where people with honk tokens can trade them for gram tokens, and people with gram tokens can trade them for honk tokens. And the reason this APY is so high is because when a pool is new, like for tokens you've never heard of before, maybe a hot new meme coin launches that people want to trade for another hot new meme coin. This is a very obscure use case. But because it's obscure, it may be difficult to find a pool that will allow you to do the business of swapping those pairs. And so when that pool is created, they say, hey man, we need tokens. We will give you the fees we collect to do the work of swapping one token for another, but we don't want to put up our own honk tokens. We don't want to, it's that nostro vostro problem all over again. We don't want to go out and buy $1 million of honk tokens and $1 million of gram tokens. So we will give you, the liquidity provider, the fees for putting those tokens in the pool. The lower the TVL and the more demand there is for these tokens to be swapped, the higher that APY is, because that service provider has customers that want to do the trade and they need that liquidity. So they're willing to say to you, industrious provider of honk and gram, please, please, please park your money with us. We will give you a very high fee. The higher this number of TVL goes, usually the lower the yield they're able to pay you is. And that's because now they got a whole pool of money. They don't need a bunch more money, so they don't need to keep giving their fees away. The other thing that affects this yield is demand for those tokens. I would be willing to speculate, based on TVL and based on the fact that I've never heard of these tokens before and they're on Telegram chain, that this is a hot, new, trendy, flash in the pan meme coin. And that in 10 days' time, while maybe right now people want to trade their honk for gram, they probably won't want to do it for very long. And if you are the business who is facilitating this trade and you are giving people a percentage of the fee you earn for them parking their tokens to let you do that job, if the demand for those tokens in that trade goes down, you're not going to keep paying those people. You're not making money, so you can't keep paying out at this rate. The APY is going to go down as demand goes down. And in fact, if we look at the major pools sorted by TVL, you'll see that, I sorted by APY. Yikes, negative APY. That seems like a glitch. You will see that the biggest protocols are usually for assets like ETH or USDT or USDC, because those are the most productive assets. They're the ones you can plug in the most places. Unlike honk and unlike gram, ETH is a meaningful, productive, economic asset that has had increased, sustained demand over time because people use the Ethereum network. As a result, there is a tremendous amount of total value locked in many of these protocols. For people in podcast land, the number I'm looking at for staked ETH on Lido is 17 billion. The APY is 2.2%. They still need your tokens to do the work of securing the network or swapping one token for another with ETH as part of the pair. But it is not such a need that they're going to pay you 50 million trillion % APY. No, they're going to pay you about 2.5% because the value that this is producing is probably like 3.5%. They take their cut, they give you yours. This pool is much more stable because demand for ETH is consistent and because the TVL is so significant that somebody could take out $1 million and it wouldn't change anything. It wouldn't impact the price of the assets at all. Matthew, do you have anything to add before I stop the screen share on this question about yield percentages?
Yeah. So the only other, I guess, thing I guess I would add in terms of, the question of, does higher yield mean higher risk, is there are a few cases where that wouldn't be the case. If there's a vault for, let's just, I don't know, pick a meme coin, we'll go, I don't know, like
Shiba Inu, since Will said it was coming back.
Shiba, we'll go with that. If there's a vault for like Shiba with like, I don't know, it's got like 2% on it, just because there probably isn't that much demand for it or something like that. There's not really much use cases. But for Solana, let's just say when Solana was trading when the Trump coin came out, Solana rates went really high because that was the most common trading pair, was actually against Solana, if I'm not mistaken. So the yield for Solana went way up because the demand for it went way up. There's some sort of news event like that where you need Solana to trade against this crazy new asset. The yield for that will go up, but that doesn't necessarily mean there's a higher risk. The volatility will probably definitely be higher, but risk doesn't necessarily mean it would be higher, because even after whatever this news event is with Solana, still the base of Solana is going to have a general demand, as we've talked about, like it is now, where it won't have a risk of like going to zero or something like that. Would you expect that yield to stay super high? No, it'll come back to its floor, but it doesn't necessarily, it's going to mean risky. I wouldn't think you would be at risk of losing funds or anything like that. You probably wouldn't be, unless you use a sketchy, provider, you probably could use like a popular curator that still would give the high APY. And you'll see that during bull markets too, where, people are constantly trying to buy like Bitcoin, so maybe the Coinbase wrap Bitcoin pair is, it has high yields because people are willing to pay high fees just to own the asset because its price is going up. So there's a push-pull demand when it comes to the yield. So it doesn't necessarily mean higher risk. If the yield's high, it might depend on what's going on in the market. But typically, yeah, when you have those two meme coin pairs, that will mean that there's going to be higher risk and stuff like that. But it's not always the case, but most of the time, it will be. Yeah, and it's similar, like you were saying, Evan, to the case right now, how I was talking about how stablecoins will help with, certain foreign exchange markets where the currency isn't as, stable, or if it's, being hyperinflated and stuff like that. It's kind of similar to a meme coin pairing right now, where the fee right now for that is super high because the demand is not super high and the utility of it is not super high, where the APY, if you were providing liquidity for that trade, would be super high right now. But there's a case that that currency is going to lose its value, just like that meme coin will lose its value if you're providing liquidity. And stable coins are going to help with that, infrastructure change. But that's kind of an example of how that's prevalent in the real world today. But
excellent, very well explained. If you wanted to find yield opportunities for something like SHIB, you don't have to do the screen share, but I will tell you, you can go to DeFi Llama. You can use the search bar at the top. You can search for the SHIB token. And not only can you see metrics like TVL, but you can use the yields tab to see a whole bunch of opportunities. And look at this. There's a collateral borrow pool. You can borrow USDC for parking your SHIB. And it looks like they've got a negative APY currently, which I believe means that there's a weird arbitrage and you can get paid to borrow.
Incentives program maybe.
You could look at that over time. You could see the yield over the last 30 days, and all those things would give you, they're like little points, metrics in your toolkit that'll tell you, what's the average over time? What can I expect? They'll help you build conviction.
Yeah. And this would be a whole nother, thing you could dive into in terms of borrow rates. Cause that's actually with Katana, the one thing I'll give them props on, and I feel like it didn't get covered too much, but I was able to utilize and was able to benefit from, was their borrowing markets. They had negative rates on their borrowing markets because they wanted users to park liquidity. They wanted users, if you have borrow demand, that still is side of the trade of that liquidity pool. And they wanted, the higher fees, and the more fees people pay on that, the higher that their vaults were able to get, higher APY and boosted yields. So they had negative yields for a while. So you were able to just literally borrow USDC literally for free, or actually get paid to do it. So that is a thing. And, some people will incentivize you to borrow, but I feel like it's not as popular as just your overall, just like lending boosted yield. But yeah, you literally did get paid to borrow.
It's crazy, right? What a time to be alive.
Yep.
Okay. Final thoughts are coming. We have had a long show today, but if you missed it, my final thought is to say thank you again to new partners of the show at SatRush by White Whale Labs. Do not forget to check it out at satrush.io. If you missed the screen share, scroll back, head to YouTube or catch up on Facebook and look at that beautiful new website. We've got the trailer video. The White Whale is going to be joining us tonight, along with Quicks, one of the newest members of the White Whale team, to talk about SatRush and for the White Whale's first ever public interview. He is a friend of the show, and we are excited to hear his vision for this new platform that allows you to stack sats and earn a reward, and also to ask him about his journey from the depths to become one of the most notable and interesting traders on the blockchain or anywhere on this blue planet. We hope to see you then. It's going to be 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. And don't forget, the best place to get in touch with us is community.rumshq.com. Cvish says about friends of the show at DeFi Llama, and if you don't know how to spell llama, just type DFILLAMA.com. Thank you very much, Cvish.
And if you join tonight, you may get to see Will in the return of his dolphin costume, which has not been broken out for a long time. So there'll be multiple, you'll probably hear that a lot, and you'll have multiple sea creatures on the show. So
lots of reasons to join. I am excited about it. Thank you very much to the White Whale for making time. Thank you again to Jito for being a sponsor that makes this show possible. And of course, the official cold storage wallet partner of Rise Up. I'm talking about Arculus. The pre-order form is available for a few more days, and then we're sending the purple wallet to print. Finally, at long last, you can get yours. Check it out at rumshq.com. And don't forget, if you just want a regular Arculus, it's the best cold storage in the game. You can use the code ARCURUMS10 at getarculus.com for 10% off. Matthew, thank you for being a guest host today. Have you got a final thought? Last question, good joke, word of wisdom for the audience before we truly ride our dogs and ponies into the sunset?
yeah, I think my final thought would be that stablecoins are the future, and yes, the tech is real. But I think people need to be more sober-minded on what it's going to do for their personal bags. I think, institutional adoption will be a real thing, and I think it will be great for the world as a whole. Except, I don't know. I think people are expecting a little too much maybe for what it's going to do for their altcoin bag or just portfolio in general. There might be second order effects that, gives the industry more credibility, maybe over time. Prices go up, blah, blah, blah. But I think we need to pump the brakes a little with the whole institutional adoption is just gonna, make everything go to the moon like people kind of do with the Clarity Act as well.
Very well said. Very well said. Thank you very much. Got the Arculus on screen for the people who are curious. My actual last final thought is Alex and I took the time to make a tutorial, a long walkthrough. Everything you could care to know about unboxing and setting up your Arculus wallet. And I finally did it, Matthew. I broke out the XRP wallet. I opened it live. And so now in all its glory, I get to show with the tire tread, engraving on screen.
That's what it looks like.
Now just imagine that this thing was purple and had that beautiful morning show logo on it. And that is the purple wallet.
Purple.
Only 99 of them will ever be made. Actually, that's not true. I think there are 104 of them, and 5 of them belong to the team. But the rest can be yours. I just can't believe it. We made it. It's been another great morning of helpful education. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Tori, backstage. Thank you to the White Whale and White Whale Labs and everybody for trusting us to help you learn. You are the very best part of what we do, and we can't wait to see you in the community and then later tonight. Quickly, Caveman wants to know when will we get these wallets? A couple of weeks. They're going to print, I hope, at the end of this week or the start of next, and that will be a 8 to 12 week timer for yours being delivered just in time for the holidays. More about that in the community, more about that on the show, and we will see you next time, everybody. Until then, my friends, stay safe, be well, everybody. Rise